Okay, so I'm walking out here now in a field. It is a beautiful October day, and more importantly, I have a big, huge open field. There's no one out here, and I'm gonna be testing out my DJI FPV in manual for the first time. I have never in my life flown a manual drone for real. This is my first time. And really what I'm coming out here to see is Velocidrone, the simulator, has it been enough to teach me how to really do that? I'm thinking it has. I put about 18 hours in, but we'll have to see. And for those of you that are not familiar with Velocidrone, it is a simulator you can get. And the difference between it and the DJI flight simulator is that I think the real world physics of the Velocidrone are just a little more accurate to what you'd experience on more normal drones and the stuff like that. Now, the downside to it, at least when I was training on it, there is no model of the DJI FPV in Velocidrone. That actually is changing. There is a DJI FPV model that is coming to Velocidrone apparently. And that's gonna be really, really exciting to see, but we just have to kind of see where that goes. I kind of went in the shadows there. So, you know, my thing is, I know I've said this manual is such a different type of shooting, you really need to prepare for it. My question really comes down to, is it enough? Am I gonna be able to get this thing up and not crash it? Because I'll be honest, I have crashed my drones many times before, and I'd really prefer not to have to crash my drone in this type of a situation. But we're gonna see, we're gonna put it all together and go out there, and I'm gonna put this drone up and see if the simulator was enough for me to get actual real world experience in an actual drone. So let's go ahead and put this thing together and check it out. Okay, so here we are. I've got the drone set up. I'm ready to take it off, and I'm really interested to see how this is going to go. This is going to be, hopefully this will be as easy as it is in Velocidrone now that we've gotten it, but yeah, a little bit nervous. I do have prop guards on just because I just want to be super extra careful. That'll probably affect my aerodynamics, but I'm not going to try and do anything too crazy. I just want to see if I can control this thing in the manual mode, and if Velocidrone was actually enough to have helped me go do it. So let's go ahead and put this thing up in the air and see what it comes out as. Oh yeah, there we go. Ooh, yeah, buddy. So yes, I mean, this is a very interesting experience. I mean, this drone, I can just tell from my experience in Velocidrone that the DJI FPV, I think, actually is a little more powered than the drone that I have been practicing in on Velocidrone. But that being said, it's still a great, I just still feel like I've got really good levels of control over this, and I can just actually still get some cool shots here and some flights here that is just super, super cool. So, you know, I would say this is just such a different way to fly, but it's so fun. I feel like I've got a lot more control. I'm gonna try and come in a little bit lower, see if I can get a little bit more boom there. So you really do feel, I'll be honest, there's no way I could have done this kind of flying the first time I ever flew manual if I hadn't had that experience in the flight simulator. I think the flight simulators are absolutely something that is so critical in being able to get more interesting shots. Whoa! Ooh, oh, there's a net there. Wow, look at that. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, there's just so much more power and control of this thing than usually the way I'm used to flying. It's just so amazing. I definitely have a long way to go here, but wow, that is so fun. right there is why the DJI FPV is fantastic, because did you just see that? Felt a little out of control, and I was able to just go ahead and switch it back into a safety mode there. And now I can go back here in manual. That was great. That totally saved me because I was about to crash right now, I'll be honest. Took a little out of control there. Did not feel completely safe. Having that safety valve is great, especially if you're someone like me, which I think most of the people on this DJI FPV are going to be like me, which is basically your first time FPV users and you don't have a chance to haven't really experienced this whole FPV world. And this is a great way to learn and dive into this world. I think it's just absolutely amazing to go into it. Yeah, and I'll be honest, I feel like I'm having to get used to the speed. There's another component to this that you can't get in a simulator, which is why simulators are great, but you still need to do it. There's just a different level of stress that comes in when you know if you crash, it's an actual piece of equipment that you own that you can crash. That's just something that a simulator may have hard times, maybe hard to replicate in a simulator, because when you crash in a simulator, well, the whole point of a simulator is you're fine, nothing crashed. Out here, if I crash, it's the real deal. So that does add a level of tension to it that I think you just have to get more experience with your drone in a real world situation to kind of factor it in. But that being said, I feel so prepared having done this stuff now. Woo, there you go. Oh, 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 oh. Woo! There you go, just saved my butt. Boy, that was close. Switch this back to manual. Back to manual. But yeah, man, this is just fantastic. I'm almost out of battery power. I got to come back down, but it's clear that there is no way I would have been able to do some of this flying the first time ever taking this thing up if I hadn't spent that time in Velocidrone learning how to do it. And yeah, it's just, let's just go forward and do one flip for the heck of it. There you go. And I'm at 10% power. I'm gonna, whoa, oh, crash right at the end. But I think it survived. Let's go check it up and see. I got a little too aggressive on my landing, and DJI does recommend you do always land this in manual just for safety. I came in a little too fast on there. And got a little bump, but you know what? Everything looks good. Everything looks good. I got a little dirt on here, but I didn't hit it that hard. And yeah, everything's still in good shape. I knocked my GoPro book. Besides that, it's pretty good. All right, guys, so there you go. That was my first successful flight in manual with an FPV. And thank God for Velocidrone. That would have been really, really difficult and completely and utterly terrifying if I didn't have time spent in a simulator with that beforehand. It definitely helped get out a lot of the basic mechanical things that I needed to figure out just to be able to fly even basically on there. And I say that as a guy that when he started flying the drone, it took 2 days to figure out how to fly it forward in manual zone. I just found this so different than a normal flying. So the simulator, especially Velocidrone, really, really was helpful. There are a couple things that I did notice that were different if you are thinking about that. Is one, you know, you cannot replicate the actual fear and anxiety, I guess, that creeps in when you're flying a real drone over stuff. When you're in a simulator, obviously if you crash, there's no repercussions. That is very, very different if you're out here in the real world. So I did find that making me a little more cautious. And I also noticed the differences in weight between what I fly on Velocidrone and this, and honestly, even the DJI Flight Simulator didn't quite replicate this weight quite as much. I don't know if that's because the GoPro on there or what, but the good news is Velocidrone does have a DJI FPV coming in a firmware update on their racing pack coming out. So that should help making the practice even better. And I think it really comes down to a combination of, you gotta go out there, you gotta spend the time in the flight simulator, and then you gotta get that real world experience, because it is different once you get out here in the real world. But I know for a fact there's no way I'd be able to get this stuff, the mechanics of it, figured out, and I could start focusing more on the drone if I hadn't spent all those hours in Velocidrone and the flight simulator. So I would say if you're getting a DJI FPV, go ahead and get Velocidrone. I think it will greatly, greatly help. And like I said, you literally saw someone who flew this for the very first time. I've never flown anything like this before. And I didn't have any major crashes. I just came in a little too fast on the landing. Shouldn't have done that. But really, besides that, I kept the thing flying. I kept it airborne. I didn't hit any poles. I didn't hit any trees. And I consider that just a major victory. So anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon.